It was a cool, clear Friday night, and Jamie had just finished tidying up after dinner. She checked her watch. It was almost 11. Her husband, Mark, had invited his friends over for a late-night game night, and Jamie had planned everything down to the last detail. She knew that the guys would be excited, but tonight was going to be a little different. Instead of just being the hostess, she planned on joining the game herself, adding her own competitive spirit to the mix. She could already imagine the look on their faces. The table was set with snacks, sodas, and a fresh deck of cards, along with a few board games they'd picked out for the night. They debated whether to stick with a classic like poker or try something more strategic, so Jamie had laid out options. She didn't want to push too hard, but secretly, she was hoping they'd go with one of her favorites, a game that required both strategy and luck. She had a knack for surprising people, and tonight she was looking forward to catching Mark and his friends off guard. The doorbell rang, breaking her from her thoughts, and Mark answered it, ushering in his closest friends, Chris, Mike, and Tom. They brought an energy with them, a mix of camaraderie and competition that set the tone for the night. Jamie greeted each of them warmly, watching as they exchanged handshakes, laughter, and the usual banter that only longtime friends could pull off. "Hey Jamie, you joining us tonight?" Mike asked, a bit surprised but pleased as he saw her sitting down at the table with them. "Yeah, thought I'd see if I could keep up," she said, her tone light but with a twinkle of challenge in her eyes. Mark shot her a look, half amused, half curious. He wasn't quite sure if she'd really stick it out through all the games, or if she was just playing along to entertain his friends. But as they settled into the first round, Jamie's focus and determination became crystal clear. She had always been competitive, but tonight, she brought a fresh edge to the game. The guys, who usually treated her as just Mark's wife, were starting to see her in a different light. They began with a quick round of Texas Hold'em to warm up. Jamie's experience playing with her cousins as a kid kicked in, and she played her cards just right, folding at the right moments and bluffing with surprising ease. By the third hand, she was already raking in chips, and the guys couldn't hide their astonishment. "Jamie, I thought you said you were new to this." Chris laughed, throwing his cards down after she managed to outbluff him with a killer straight. "Well, I might have played a few hands in my time," she teased, leaning back with a grin. Mark's friends exchanged glances, impressed but slightly competitive now that she was proving to be a real challenge. Mark, on the other hand, was quietly amused. He hadn't expected her to jump in with such enthusiasm. He shot her a look across the table that said, "I see what you're doing," but Jamie just winked at him in return. The games continued, moving from poker to a game of Risk. Jamie loved strategy games, and Mark knew it. She was the type who could think 5 moves ahead, and as the pieces began moving across the board, the tension in the room grew. This wasn't just a casual game anymore. Everyone was fully invested. Mark's friends started strategizing, trying to form alliances, and Jamie knew they were playing hard to knock her off the board. But she was ready for them. She held her own, making clever moves that kept her in the game. Even Mark found himself caught off guard when she launched a surprise attack on his territory, catching him when he least expected it. The laughter was contagious, filling the room as they battled it out. Midnight came and went, but the energy never waned. Every few minutes, there was a burst of laughter or a groan as someone lost a hand or had to surrender a key position in Risk. The table was littered with empty snack bowls and crumpled napkins, but nobody cared. Everyone was fully engrossed in the game, the intensity growing with each round. Jamie found herself bonding with Mark's friends in a way she hadn't before. They were seeing her not just as Mark's wife, but as part of the group, someone who could keep up with their jokes, their competitive spirit, and their late-night energy. She could see their respect growing, and it felt good. As the hours ticked on, they transitioned into a final game, Codenames. This one required teamwork, and by chance, Jamie and Mark ended up on the same team. They exchanged a quick smile, a silent acknowledgement of the connection between them. The game required careful clues, subtle hints, and a deep understanding of each other's thought processes. As they worked together, they found an effortless rhythm, each picking up on the other's clues with ease. The other guys noticed too, and they tried to throw off Jamie and Mark's game with playful distractions, teasing, and a few lighthearted digs. But Jamie and Mark were in sync. They'd spent years together, knew each other's strengths, quirks, and the way their minds worked. As the final rounds approached, it was down to the wire, with both teams just one clue away from victory. In a last, tense moment, Jamie gave a clue that Mark deciphered perfectly. He picked the right word, and the room erupted with cheers and laughter as their team claimed victory. Mark's friends laughed, shaking their heads, admitting defeat with good humor. "You two make a deadly team," Tom said, still laughing as he threw a handful of pretzels into his mouth. "We don't stand a chance when you're together." Mark wrapped his arm around Jamie's shoulders, a look of pride and affection in his eyes. He pulled her close and whispered, "I should have known you'd be the ringer tonight." After the games were over, they all sat around talking, reminiscing about their favorite moments from the night. The laughter flowed freely, the camaraderie deepened, and Jamie realized how much fun it was to just relax and let loose with these friends. They weren't just Mark's friends anymore. Tonight, they felt like hers too. As the early morning hours crept closer, everyone began to pack up, stretching and yawning but smiling, still riding the high from a night well spent. Mark saw his friends out, giving each of them a good-natured pat on the back and promising they'd do it again soon. When he returned, he found Jamie cleaning up the snack bowls and wiping down the table. He walked over, wrapped his arms around her, and kissed her forehead. "Who knew you'd be such a threat at game night?" he said, still smiling. "Oh, I have a few tricks up my sleeve," she teased, turning to look up at him. "And I'm pretty sure you didn't mind seeing me beat them all, did you?" Mark chuckled, pulling her closer. "Not at all. Actually, I loved every second of it. You were amazing." He paused, a warm glow in his eyes. "I think we make a pretty great team, don't you?" Jamie smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. She felt the comfort of their bond and the thrill of having shared this night together. "Yeah, we really do. And next time, we're going to win all over again." Together, they turned off the lights and headed to bed, already looking forward to the next time they'd gather around that table, ready to make more memories filled with laughter, love, and a little bit of friendly competition.